Just off the plane from, how's it? Aloha! Nice to be home. Yeah, it's hard. Well, not this one. I mean, this is pretty easy. You guys got the tough one there. Just off the plane from DC last night and here this morning, beautiful Saturday morning in Waipahu at the Filipino Community Center, also known as the Philcom Center. This is the heartbeat, the center of our incredible Philam community throughout Hawaii. This great center behind us was conceived 30 years ago now by leaders of the Philam community here in Hawaii, and it was completed in 2001. It's been open for 20 years now, and it is really the spiritual and cultural and educational and commercial home of our Philam community throughout Hawaii, which at this point has been in Hawaii since 1905 with the Sakata coming over from the Philippines, the very, very first generations in 1905. And they've grown now to about 400,000 plus here in Hawaii. Incredible accomplishment, incredible achievement, past, present, future. They're now part of 4.2 Filipino Americans across our country, one of the most rapidly growing communities in our entire country that have expanded beyond just Hawaii to places like, California and so many other places. I've got great members of Congress, my colleagues in Congress, sometimes from surprising places. For example, Bobby Scott. Bobby is a senior member of the U.S. House of Representatives. He chairs the Education and Labor Committee, one of the most powerful and influential committees. Bobby is African American Filipino. He has an interesting history. He represents Norfolk, Virginia, and so these are the folks that I associate with in Congress to try to bring the best to our Philam community across the country. Many issues ranging from trying to get health care to our Philam community, sometimes very unusual, different kind of circumstances. We clearly try to help with small businesses. Our Philams are really the center of our small business community. How's it? Aloha. Thank you. Where are you guys going? Where are you going? All right, see ya. Thank you. And the center is really part of that. This is the largest and still one of the only Filipino community centers throughout our entire country. So it is really a source of incredible pride to our Philam community. We're here because it's been been a year and a half since the center was opened. The center supports itself through meeting rooms, convention rooms, a cafeteria, full-on cafeteria and dining room where many events are held, not just for the Philam community. And they've been closed for a year and a half, so you can imagine, like many other organizations and folks throughout our state, it's been a long, hard road. And so I'm here with the Philam community and other friends to just celebrate the center, celebrate the community. Okay, thank you. To celebrate and really just to clean it up, get it in shape for a full reopening. So I'm going to interview you a little bit. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So you are Toi Are, right?
That's correct.
All right. Tell us why you're so critical and important to the Philcom Center here.
Oh, GBs, I don't consider myself critical. I did serve as its executive director.
You were the executive director of the Philcom Center in its formative years, right?
Yeah,
were you the first executive director?
No, I was actually the third.
Third. And what were your years of service?
I was here from 2004 until 2012.
Okay. All right. So the Philcom Center opened in 2001, right?
Yes.
I think that I have that right. And it struggled a little bit coming out of the gate.
That's correct.
Right, because it was just brand new to the community, and the finances were a little shaky in the beginning. The community, of course, supported it, but you had to get it underway in terms of of actually serving the community? Because
Well, actually, Roland Casamina, who is a nephew of mine, and Eddie Flores were the two people that were instrumental in
Right.
kind of putting this up. And one day I got a call from Roland Casamina and asked me if I was still interested in the Filipino Center, because I came in for an interview when they were trying to look for its first executive director. And I said, yeah, I still am. 2 years after that interview, they called me back and said, are you still interested? I said, yeah, sure I am. And they said, let me call you back in a couple of weeks. And apparently the board met and they approved my appointment as the next director. So Roland called me and he said, Uncle, they approved your appointment. So when can you come back to Hawaii? I said, well, give me at least a couple of weeks so I can tell the mayor that I need to go back here.
you were a longtime city employee, right?
Yes, I was with the city and the state for 38 years.
38 years with the state also?
With the state, because I was mostly at the university,
Right.
but that was the state.
Yeah, I see. And then you were at the city though when
I was with
when you
Frank
came.
Fassi for 16 years.
Right. And so you came over here and you said 04, right?
Yes.
Until 12, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. So what were the what were the challenges you had to overcome during that period? This
Well-
was still early in the center's history.
Yeah, when I first came, the ballroom and the kitchen were not finished yet. There was a $1.2 million federal grant that, but it was a matching kind of grant, so we couldn't find enough money to match it. We found about $800,000. I had to return the rest because we couldn't use it.
Do you remember what kind of federal grant it was?
I forgot what it was.
Yeah. It's probably a cultural, historical cultural.
No, it had something to do with physical construction.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I couldn't spend it for running programs
Right,
or anything
right,
like that.
right.
It was to finish the center, mostly the ballroom and the kitchen.
Which are the money makers here.
Yeah,
Like if the
yeah,
ballroom is
yeah.
really going, then you can make money off of large events and
Yeah, it
conventions and that kind of stuff.
It generates about 1/3 of the total income of the center.
Right.
In terms of income from the facility.
Right.
The majority of the income comes from the rental of the 7 or 8 rental units downstairs.
Right, the commercial.
And the other third comes
And this
from the
room right
rent.
here, which is the meeting room.
Yeah.
I've used it all myself in one way, shape, or form.
We used to have a teleconference capability over here. And one of the things I had in mind before was have the famous doctor before he died, the Filipino doctor. And we were going to use our teleconference facilities to broadcast it to medical students in the Philippines.
I see.
That's something that I never got off the ground, but it would have been a fascinating project.
Right. So, here we are. We're today 20 years since the center opened, 30 years since the first discussion of the center by Eddie Flores and Roland Casamina and the real leaders of the Phil-Am community at the time. I mean, what does the center mean to you now?
Well, I think it has contributed a great deal in terms of improving the Filipino identity in the community. It has really served well as a meeting place. And in the beginning, and hopefully even now as it continues to exist, that the Filipino community is proud that we've been able to create this kind of facility for the community.
Yeah. It's one of the only ones like it in the entire country, right?
Yes, it's the largest Filipino community center anywhere in the United States.
Anywhere in the U.S. 4 million plus Philams.
Yes.
Throughout our country, of whom somewhere around 10% are in Hawaii. But right here, we have the largest.
It continues to be burdened, however, by a $4 million loan. We've been trying to pay it out slowly.
Yeah.
One point,
tough during COVID-19 to keep your income going.
Yes, because the primary source of income here is gone. But hopefully, it will start to pick up.
Was the center able to have federal emergency assistance during COVID-19 with any of its debts or operations?
You will have to ask
your successor.
Yeah.
Kylie, I will. So everybody in the Philam community here in Hawaii knows who you are, but there are many people that are, of course, not part of the community. Tell us a little bit about kind of where you came from. I mean, how did you come to this position? Are you born and raised in Hawaii, or what's your background? Where did you come from?
I was born and raised in the Philippines, actually, and came to the country.
Where in the Philippines?
In 1957.
Where were you born in the Philippines?
I was born and raised in Manila.
Manila, okay.
Actually, my father was supposed to attend the World Trade Fair in New York in 1957. But he got operated on for ulcers, and he couldn't travel, so he decided to send me with my mother and my eldest sister to attend the World Trade Fair at the Coliseum in New York.
Oh yeah.
And so I went. After that, we went to the Washington State Fair in Seattle, in Washington.
Were you representing the Philippines in that fair?
I was representing my father's firm.
Oh, I see. What was his
part
business?
of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce. So after that, I ended up in San Francisco after the World Trade Fair in Seattle. That was the year that the Space Needle opened. Anyway, I got a call from my father, and he said, son, since you're already there, you might as well go to school. And you can say, no, I don't want to. I already had an elder sister in Michigan, so that's where I went.
I see.
But I spent a full year there. It was too cold for me. I decided to come back to Hawaii.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Aloha. Anyway, I think they're asking us to come outside for a quick speech, so we'll continue this at some point. Toy, so good to see you. You've been such a great leader with the community and, of course, the center here.
If you need any assistance in your campaign, please let me know.
Thank you so much. Hi, aloha. Morning, aloha, mabuhay. It's so great to be with you. I just actually got off a plane from Washington, D.C. yesterday afternoon. I'm only here for the weekend. Really, this is the main reason I'm home this weekend is that, of course, the opportunity came up to come down and help you all with this incredible center, and it's something that I really wanted to do. It's so good to see folks that I've worked with now for decades on behalf of our Philam community and our state and our country and our relationship with the Philippines, and there are many people here that I haven't met yet, and I'm hoping to spend a little bit of time with each and all of you while I'm working, because I do intend to work. I don't intend to be a slacking off, congressman that just kind of comes down here and doesn't do it. So give me the hard stuff. It's incredible to be at the center. It's hard to believe that it has been 20 years since the center opened, and 30 years since the community first conceived of this incredible facility. Still the largest of its kind in our country. And when you take a look at 30 years, that's a whole generation in which there's been such incredible advancement by the Philam community across our country. Over 4 million Philams in our country at this point, 400,000 here I think you all know that here in Hawaii, in my congressional district, I represent, out of 435 congressional districts in our entire country, I represent more Phil-Ams in my district than any other district in the country. The second biggest is the second congressional right up the street, by the way. So here in Hawaii, we take very seriously in Congress our obligation to do right by our Phil-Am community and by all of the issues that are so important to the community, whether it be business or healthcare or our international relations with our brothers and sisters in the Pacific. But for me, it has been, of course, like for all of you, a difficult year and a half. Year and a half where our lives were upended. Our normal lives were upended in every single which way. And we all needed to fall back on our sense of ohana, our sense of community, to really get through this. And the Phil-Am community did that so incredibly awesomely. It is just really heartwarming. We forget that we did a once in 10-year census during the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. And of course, the community was so incredible in making sure that you reached out and counted all of the members of the community and others throughout our state. That's so critical for us, speaking of federal funding, to get the census right. And I think we did get the census right for the community. And then, of course, as we went into literally trillions of dollars, $5 or $6 trillion of federal assistance to get us through COVID-19 and into the vaccinations, which is still unfinished business. Your community was so incredible along those lines. And so, it's just been, sometimes in the worst times, you find the best in people and the best in communities. And so I'm just really proud of you. I just want to say that as your congressman. I'm proud of our state. I'm proud of our country in many ways for kind of getting through this in pretty good shape. Okay, so much for the past. Now the future, of course. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got to get our country back in shape. We've got to get our communities back in shape. We have to rebuild our relationships around the world. We've got to make sure that we do get federal funding to Hawaii. Happy to work with you on whether we can figure out a way to help you here at the center. But that's all kind of beyond where we are today. Today, I'm just really happy to be with you here to kind of get this incredible center that means so much to the community, and by the way, not just to the Phil-Am community. It means a lot to all of us, whether we are Filipino Americans or not. It means a lot to me that we have this center here and that it is fixed up and looking good as we come out of COVID-19. So great to be with you, and please, as I'm working here for the next couple hours, come up and talk story with me a little bit. Don't be shy. I'd love to. For me, this is an opportunity not just to help you out, but to listen to you and make sure that I understand what your concerns and needs are so that I can take them back to DC. Anyway, mahalo. Come in here.
And feel it. I'm cool enough.
Okay.
Dedicated to the Filipino World War II veterans, Filipino-American World War II veterans. Still working for them in Congress right now. Still trying to get, we've gotten a fair bit of it done, but we still have to get them the final way with the family reunification bill.
Yes, that's right.
Where they can bring their families over here. Some of their families have been waiting for decades. Oh man, you've done that before, huh? You look like you know what you're doing. Oh. Architects, they just draw. They don't actually do this.
I gotta know it because, in construction, I have to do quality control inspection.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that the crew or the tradesmen knows what they're doing.
Right,
So
right.
I need to know how things are being done.
Where are you an architect?
Well, here, I'm licensed here.
I mean, with a company or with yourself, or?
As an architect, I have my own company, a small company.
I see.
One-man office.
What kind of design do you do? Like all kinds, residential, commercial?
I do DOE projects.
Oh,
school projects, UH.
I see.
Yeah, and some commercial. Yeah.
What's your involvement with the center here?
I'm one of the board of directors. Yeah.
Okay. How long
I've
have
been
you?
involved since the planning of this community center.
Like 30 years?
30 years, yeah.
30 years ago, it's people started talking about it.
Yeah, I helped in.
What's your name, by the way, just for the
Junzuela.
Junzuela.
We've met several times,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you've met a lot of people and you tend to
I'm just
forget
doing
who
this
started.
for the tape.
Hi. Hey, sir.
Junzuela.
Yes.
Okay. And so where do you live over here?
In Ayaya. Yeah.
You lived there a long time, or
Yeah, 27 years.
27 years? Wow. And you grew up here in Hawaii, or
No,
what's your
came here-
history?
I came here when I was 28
From the Philippines.
from the Philippines,
What part of the Philippines?
in Manila.
Manila.
I grew up in Manila.
What got you to come here to start with?
Well, when I married my wife, she's from here.
I see. So you followed your
No
wife.
choice. Yeah, no choice.
So you met? How'd you meet your wife? In the Philippines or here?
Through relatives.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
And
When,
so she said, "I'm going back to Hawaii. You can come or not."
that's basically it. Yeah, so yeah,
So you still have family in the Philippines?
everybody's here.
I
Yeah.
see.
Well, we're
Yeah.
scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
I got a brother in Saipan.
Yeah.
I got a brother in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I got my brother in San Diego, and my son is in New Mexico. He's stationed there. He's in the Air Force.
I see.
And another younger son is in California. He
Yeah,
works for
yeah.
Northrop Grumman.
So I mean, what does the center mean to you? I mean, what's the significance of the center to you as a Philam?
Actually, this is something that we can be proud of. And this was built not only for the Filipinos, but it's open to all other nationalities.
Right.
Too. So that's basically what I know from the very start of the
Yeah.
planning process.
Yeah.
So I was glad to be able to contribute in my own small way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's an incredible center, and you're right. I'm not Filipino American, but I'm proud.
It's been decades since this was.
Couple of decades now, and tough going in the beginning to keep it going and find the rhythm in the community.
Yeah.
COVID-19 has been tough for the center. You know better than me as a board member, but hopefully it'll come back good.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping to. So yeah.
All right, Jun.
All right.
Thanks so much.
All right.
I got to finish my job here.
yeah.
Otherwise, people will think I'm slacking.
Very hard to take out.
Okay. Nestor was here at the beginning, so we were trying to remember where it was. I guess it's right there.
My family's picture is inside.
Yeah.
Your family's picture.
Yeah. So.
Board of directors at the time, the pictures
Yeah.
are there. And their
How
final-
big is it? Is it that big? The box?
Yeah, it's a box.
It has financial statements for the period.
Is that when the cornerstone was laid, I guess?
No,
Ni- 2006, right? It must have been 100 years? 2006?
2000. Yeah.
Or maybe that's when it was power. Oh, there it says.
but we opened in December 2001.
One, yeah?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's 06?
Oh, because that was the time that they thought they'd like to bury it.
Yeah.
They didn't think about it when
Yeah.
the building was.
What do you think the people that open this capsule will think about?
They might be asking, who are these people?
None of us are going to be around, but what do you think the Filipino American community is going to be like when they open this capsule?
They're going to say, oh, this is how they prepared their financial statements of the time.
Yeah, they will have an idea of how the building was, constructed, how it came to be. Yeah. So it's historical.
Yeah.
The names of the first donors, I know they're there.
But I mean, if you think about it, 2006,
Not too long ago.
that was only 1 year after the 100th anniversary of
Yes.
the Sakata.
Yeah.
So that was
It's about the same time. Yeah.
1905, I think they came, yeah? The Sakata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
100 years.
100 years, so that's in the middle, and then you go another 100 years beyond that.
Yeah.
So that's 4 generations from the Sakata to this, and another 4 generations from there.
Yeah.
What will the Filipino American experience be like at that point in Hawaii, and what do you hope for?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, by that time, I think in terms of population, the Filipinos
Oh, we're gonna outnumber any other ethnic group.
will be the largest.
You'll be the largest in Hawaii, but that's going to happen in the next generation, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're number 2 you're already number 2.
Yes. Yes.
You don't have that much farther to go until you catch the us howlies.
Well, it's still a big.
I think we're number 1 now. You know, it wasn't the Howley, it was the Japanese. Who were
No,
trying to
you're
catch
way past the Japanese now.
Yeah.
You passed the Japanese about 10 years ago or something like that, in sheer numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I think that
It's still the Caucasian, which is number 1. Yeah, followed by Filipinos and then Japanese. Yeah.
right.
So by that time, I think I don't know if we can
Oh, I think you will. I think it's a matter. I think it's just a matter of kind of the demographics, and
I know
I think
that,
the Philam community will be the largest in Hawaii within 10 or 20 years.
about 50% of all new immigrants are Filipino.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at the national statistics, the Asian American Pacific Islander community is our fastest growing community of anybody in the country. And within the AAPI community, Philams are growing faster than most of the other AAPI communities. So 4.2 million now. I'll bet you 100 years from now,
And
10 or 15 million.
And I hope that that growth will be reflected also in the social, economic, political life of the community.
Yeah, I think so.
The economic ones, unfortunately, is always lagging behind.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Philam community 100 years from now, for a community that will be 8, 9, 10 generations into its own history in the United States, I think it will have retained its cultural and social and historic identity much better than many other communities, just because the community spends so much time trying to, maintain your traditions, while obviously being incredible Americans. Sometimes the immigrant communities, they come to Hawaii, like all of us come to Hawaii, and over time, over the generations, the relationship to the homeland, culture, traditions, history, the next generation doesn't really appreciate it, and then it kind of gets lost. And I don't think that's going to happen with the Philam community. That's what I think is going to be true in 100 years when we open this time capsule, or whoever comes beyond us. I think it's going to be a really incredible moment for the Philam community. I think it's going to be almost like the Sakata when they came here. They never would have imagined that 100 years later, the Philam community would have opened a center like this. They never would have imagined that.
Yes.
Maybe the same thing. We can't even imagine what it'll be like then.
Yeah,
It's a very proud history and tradition encompassed in the time capsule. So, and you're right. By that time, the financial statements, it's going to be automatic. I hope the books still balance here.
Oh yeah.
Well, aloha. We're at the Philcom Center here, and tell me who you are and where you fit into the center.
My name is Kylie Orell, and I'm the executive director.
Okay, so you're in charge.
I like to think so.
And
Yes.
Kylie, you've been on the job for a month, right?
Yes, just started. I'm the new kid on the block, but with that, I think I'm looking at it with a fresh set of eyes and the different opportunities available to the center.
And how did you come to apply for the job, and how did you come to do this job?
I actually didn't apply. I was found by the executive search committee that was built upon 6 different board members. And so they had reached out to me, and in that process, I was a selected candidate.
And where did you come from? What's your history? What's your background?
Well, so my mother's been a nonprofit for about 30 years. So my childhood really consisted of health fairs and going to the different events and volunteering.
Here in Hawaii?
Yeah, she was the executive director of American Heart Association
Oh, I see.
for a while, and then she was at Queens most recently. But for myself, I got to see that as a child, and I really followed her in her footsteps. And so from there, I went to St. Francis. I was their development director, St. Francis Healthcare System.
Sure.
And then from there, I went to Ronald McDonald Health Charities Hawaii.
So
Yes.
you've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
Working with nonprofits, organizations.
Yeah, it's been my passion for a really long time, and I really like to take on projects that it's in that pivot phase where, okay, we've been doing this for a long time, and how are we going to challenge ourselves? How are we going to come together to have new ideas? And so that's really what allured me to Philcom, was they're looking at, okay, we've been around for 20 years, and what do we want to do in the next 20? And that's something.
And what's your connection to our great Phil-Am community?
So I'm a quarter Filipino, if you can believe it or not. I know I don't look it, but my mother is Chinese Filipino. So that is my connection.
So you come out of the community.
Yes. Yeah. I actually live in Mililani too, so I'm quite close as well. I'm born and raised in Mililani.
Where is your Filipino heritage from? What part of the Philippines?
So that's the fun or interesting part. When I was talking to the board members about my heritage, I realized that I was a lot like many of the other millennials that are in that demographic. We're not in that generation that came off the boat and came through, here for the farming or whatever those trade services were. We're not part of that. We don't speak the language, but what we know, it's beginning to dilute itself. And for myself, when I was talking to the board, I was looking at it as an opportunity to get more immersed into who I am. I'm Native Hawaiian as well, so that is always at the forefront. We learn so much about being Native Hawaiian with Kamehameha schools and everything, but at the same time, that only represents a quarter of who I am. There's this missing piece, and so that's where I wanted to learn more about the Filipino community and their heritage here and how important they are, because they are the second largest demographic in the state of Hawaii. So there's many of them, and there's many different opportunities.
This is a really interesting thing to talk about, and I was actually talking about some of the other folks here, folks that have been here from the very beginning, like Toy and Jun, and of course, they have a really immediate connection back to the Philippines.
Yes.
Their heritage is from the Philippines here. So first generation, second generation. And how many generations for you back to?
So I'm fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
Yes.
And so what we were doing was we were in front of the time capsule, and I was asking them, what do you envision when that time capsule is opened in 100 years, which was 2006 then, so 2106. What do you envision the Phil-Am community is going to be like? And so what we were talking about was that the Phil-Am community is so strong in terms of its cultural identity, its ties to the old country, the heritage, that it will actually keep that tradition going forward, even though, as you say, there's a lot of pressure into the third and the fourth generation to kind of leave it behind in some ways.
Surely, and I think that that's something that my generation craves. We're coming out of that tech boom, right, where there's Facebook and Instagram, and so we're craving that authenticity. And the best part to start is with ourselves, and that's our heritage and those different areas. And I look at them as a resource, because a lot of the things that they foresaw have come to fruition. And so it's not only respecting all the hard work and dedication, because it took a lot of effort to get this facility, especially back then, and the costs associated and even the upkeep. They all made different sacrifices to ensure that we could be here today.
Right.
So now, looking into the next generation, it's how do we perpetuate that? And even for myself, I have an 11-year-old, and so if I'm not as immersed, it's only gonna continue as we're gonna get further removed.
Right.
So in this generation, like you're talking about Toy and everyone, as they get older, that's history, that's information that will get lost. And so it's about bridging that together.
Right. So you picked a pretty darn tough time to take over the Philcom Center. I mean, as you pointed out, this is an incredible center. It is such a center of the Phil-Am community and the community overall. It was hard to get going. 1991 to 2001, that was 10 tough years of mustering the support of the broader community to fund it. And then, of course, the construction and the opening, and there were budget shortfalls, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of debt that the center has been dealing with, and the way the center tries to sustain itself and pay off debt, besides nonprofits out there who do support it, is the commercial operations here. So you have, commercial tenants, a ballroom, a meeting room, a full-on commercial kitchen,
Yep.
and that's your income stream. But that dried up during COVID-19.
It did. It
And
was
so
really
now
challenging.
you're coming out of COVID-19. How are you doing, and what's the plan moving forward to kind of recover your footing?
So it was really, we were fortunate because we, like you were saying, we have that revenue stream of the tenants, and they were able to really help us just kind of sustain, just barely, we weren't at a loss like other organizations where their programs completely ceased or events were completely done. We did take a large hit with the ballroom not being able, because that was actually a majority of our revenue base. And so for us, right now we're looking at refurbishing everything because it's been a year of just a closure, and it's just kind of sat here outside of other testing events and vaccinations. But we haven't really been at full capacity and having people and welcoming them here. So we're hoping to just stay within the guidelines and figure out how we can move forward and really start generating that revenue it's really needed right now at this point in time.
I saw some of you. I was down, working on the front with where some of the commercial tenants are, and I noticed that a lot of them had gotten assistance from the federal government, COVID-19 assistance, emergency assistance, some medical professionals, some small businesses who all were eligible, and I'm pretty sure that they got it. So I guess indirectly the federal government contributed.
Indirectly, yeah, it did. I mean, and really what I'm looking at too with my, I'm fresh eyes coming onto the scene, and really it's looking at all the different opportunities. And just in the short period that I've been here, I've realized that it's in the hands of many. It's not one revenue generated line item on our balance sheets. It's not one tenant. It's not one volunteer. It's really everybody in the community that's coming together, and different pieces that are of the puzzle that just fit, and that's how everything is just continuing to move forward. And so I think that's what makes this unique. It's very different from any other organization.
So how are you going to get your generation and the generations that are coming up behind you, the millennials, to stick with the commitment to the heritage and to support the center and to be their own boards of directors then? You've got a whole nother generation of Phil-Am leaders coming up right now, right?
Oh yes, I think it's important to engage with them. I think it's important to have them come to the center and figure out what are their professional goals, what are their interests, and how can you help? Because that's what we have here today. Everybody wants to help, and they have a specialty, and they're just kind of pitching in. And I think finding that balance between, what they're interested in and bringing them in, and then having that opportunity of that, the older generation who is so knowledgeable, it's in those interactions that they can really deepen that experience. Yeah. So that is what I'm trying to do currently. We have new board members as well, so I'm not out here on my own. We have a handful of new board members, and they're in their 40s, and so, it's just kind of all of us coming together and being in partnership.
All right, great. Well, good luck to you, and congratulations. And of course, I want to be a partner myself.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mabuhay.
Yes, mabuhay.
Okay, aloha. Tell us who you are.
Okay, my name is Rose Chavez Galanto, and I've been a businesswoman since 1979. I'm engaged with Aloha Tours and Travel. And also I am the CEO of Hill Solid Gold, a retail jewelry store. And also since 1980 I have a real estate license with Grand Venture Realty.
And you're the brand new president of the Filipino Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yes.
As of like 2 days ago.
Like 2 days ago. Yes, that's correct.
But you were vice president last year, getting ready.
Yes, I've been a vice president for 2 terms during Vanessa's term and Nancy's term. So this is my 2 years, and then after that I became president.
So, how long has the Filipino Chamber of Commerce been around? Long time, yeah?
Oh yes, since 1954.
54,
Yes.
and it's mostly businesses, small businesses that are owned and operated by Filipino Americans.
Filipino, yes, Filipino businesses.
And let me ask you a question because I think you just told me 4, if I'm not mistaken, small businesses that you're involved in.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. I think you said travel business,
Yeah.
jewelry business,
Real estate.
and was there one more there?
I was also in the rentals, but
Rentals.
I'm not pursuing it right now because I don't have time.
Yeah, you don't have time.
I didn't realize that Filipino Chamber of Commerce is a full-time job.
Oh yeah, and well, the question I was going to ask you was, Phil-Ms throughout Hawaii and our country are very, very much small business people.
Yes.
Many small businesses owned and operated by Filipino Americans throughout Hawaii. Critical part of our community. Why so much small business with Filipino Americans?
Well, what I think about it is I think they want to really prosper on their business. They really wanted to try hard, to become successful.
Right.
Yeah.
And not afraid to go out on their own and do a small business.
Yeah, they want to be free and do whatever. Filipino is very talented people.
Right.
In their own expertise.
Yeah. And so, you're taking over. COVID-19, it's still with us. It's been really devastating to our economy here in Hawaii and our small businesses. I mean, your travel business must have been very, very difficult over the last year, especially. So, how do you see the Filipino Chamber, helping out the membership in terms of coming out of COVID-19 now?
Well, what we are doing right now is we are telling it to the public what is the process to go back to the Philippines. The other day we
To reopen travel between here and the Philippines.
The other day we were thinking that the Philippines will open up because there is a 10 days quarantine in the hotel. You cannot go out.
Yeah.
Once you arrive, you go
Not
to
even
the
if you have a vaccine.
No, not even you have a vaccine. It's a mandatory that you go to the hotel 10 days.
Yeah.
And for 10 days, you cannot go out. The elevator is locked. The fire escape is locked. So you are just going to stay there.
Right.
So we are trying to educate them if they go to Philippines to be sure they bring their iPad or something that they can do inside the room. But yesterday we found out that U.S. is not included. Some countries they only
have a bubble.
required 7 days.
Right.
But they did not include
U.S.
U.S. Yes.
Are there many Phil-M businesses? Do the businesses are they about interacting with the Philippines still? Like the commercial,
Yes.
business back and forth.
Yes. Philippine Airlines is flying like two times a month.
Yeah.
And before the COVID, they're flying like 5 days a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, how.
So not a whole
you can
bunch
see
yet.
how
Trying to reopen that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we're here. We all came down here to help out with the PhilCom, the Filipino Community Center. What does it mean? What does this center mean to you?
Oh, this is a very, it's an icon for the Filipino, because this is the only PhilCom in the state of Hawaii for Filipino. I think they have in Kauai now. Yeah, I think Kauai they have their own. So for the island of Honolulu, I think this is the only one. So
It's the biggest one in the country.
Yes. We hope we can make it prosper and we'll held all our events here to help them and help the Filipino community.
Okay, Rose. Well, thank you so much. And by the way, thank you so much for bringing lunch for everybody.
Okay, thank you. And I
Good
hope
luck.
you enjoy
Good
it.
luck in your presidency.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I hope you will come on our installation.
I hope
it will
so.
be on September 11 at Hilton Waikiki Tapa Ballroom.
Okay, I will if I'm home.
Oh yes, we invited you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Whew. Oh wow. I should have taken 2 myself. Look at that. You're just going back and forth. What kind of business?
I don't exactly work with a business, but I got involved to help out with community service,
Right.
and with personal development.
Yeah.
So I'm with Representative Luke right now.
With who?
Representative Luke.
Oh, Luke. Okay. Are you her full-time legislative director or whatever? You're not the one that gets axed at the end of the session. That's what I mean.
I went through that.
You had to do that at some point. Well, Sylvia and I was already in the state legislature when Sylvia came in. I think she came in, I want to say 99. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think
I remember it was Schatz, Luke, and somebody else that everybody knows. I forget. Right in that first class. That was a really good class, actually, in the legislature. But how about you?
Oh, my name is Natalie. My full-time job, I work at the Hawaii Community Foundation.
Oh.
So I do a lot of the Umbediar initiatives. But I'm also a small business owner, so I do a lot of photography and events.
Oh, really? So you're a photographer?
Yes.
And that when you say you do events, you do photography at the events?
Yeah, photography at the events. But now I actually do a lot more of like photo booth services now that the event industry is opening up again.
Right.
But during last year when we were all home a lot, I did a lot of like photo restoration. So I took like your old photos and make it look a lot better. And, yeah, that one I really like to do.
Okay, so I'm of the age where I have all of these like slides that are up in my
Yeah, if you have the physical one, so that we can preserve it in a digital format. And
How do you do that?
I scan it and then I.
Is there like a big old machine nowadays? You
No,
just stick all those slides in and they all get digitized?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a machine like that, but I work from home, so I just use a regular scanner.
So you just do it.
Fine.
You just do it manually, each slide, and
each one.
man, I haven't wanted to go up there and try to clean out all those pictures. Such a big. I'll let my kids do it maybe after I'm Paul. Nanding's Bakery, Waipahu. Woohoo!
Did you try our pancit? And
I just had a whole pancit.
okay, good.
Where do you get that? Which one is that?
This one is rice cake. About the rice from Pampanga
Oh.
restaurant.
Oh.
Did you eat? Puto. Rice cake.
Yeah. You're not eating?
You want puto?
What is this?
Puto. Rice cake. Rice cake.
Puto.
Yeah, rice cake.
Puto.
Yeah. You want? It's good. It's good with the pancake.
Oh. Puto.
Have you been in the Philippines? Oh, you did. Okay. You did.
Wait, did you ask me if I've been to the
Yeah,
Philippines?
have you been in the Philippines?
Not for so long.
But you did go before.
I went.
So maybe
I
you need
went-
to go again.
Oh no,
After the pandemic.
I've been wanting to go for a long time.
Yeah.
I went to the Philippines when I was 25.
Oh,
So
I see. Now you needed to go.
we're talking.
We're gonna have on our next trade mission. We're going to the Philippines. Maybe after next year. Go eat. Okay, go get food. Ito pang kain na. Yeah. You'll be surprised. Yeah, there's a lot of changes in the Philippines.
So when I went when I was traveling around. I had some time between school, so I went traveling in Southeast Asia, and I went to the Philippines. So I went to Manila, and from Manila, I stayed in Manila about a week, and then I took the. This is all, this is not fancy travel. This is like the local travel. Everything is. So, and then I took the local bus up to Baguio. And then I went down to.
Did you go Ilocos?
I didn't get that far. I wish I had. I went back down to Thousand Islands, down
Pangasinan.
Pangasinan. Then I went Pangasinan back to Manila, and then I took the overnight ferry to Visayas.
Oh!
Like on the deck, not first class. Like Like you camp out on the deck, and I got down there. I think I went to Cebu, Bacolod, and Ilo.
That's quite a big place that you went through.
I climbed to the top of Mount Kanlaon.
Oh, wow.
I'm very proud of that.
When you go back, make sure you go to Ilocos region. There's a lot of expansion and changes. Yeah, and vegan is now the seventh, for the world, wonders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, I want. If I go back, I'll go up north.
yeah, go up north. I'm from the north.
That's a good one.
You got everybody? Thank you. Yeah. All right.